monthly meetups where we have a focus to discuss a topic that is of interest to us around our personal development. And something that was mentioned quite a few months ago was a demonstration of this app called Todoist, which really helps us get our arms around our work and prioritize and basically get things out of our head and into a system. So that's really what today's session is going to be all about. I'm going to share Todoist on screen with you and give you an insight into how it can be used. And I've got a brand new account with nothing in it. I've set up a newbie account. So we'll start from a blank sheet, and I'll illustrate some of the main functionality and how we can use that to sort of get a clear mind and reduce that sense of overwhelm that can sometimes come. To put this in context, this is a tool I recommend to a lot of my clients when I'm coaching them one-on-one around productivity topics, because the main principle here that I want to bring to light is the benefit of getting stuff out of your head and into a system. Our minds are not designed to carry around long lists of things that we need to do, whether that's buying milk or proposing to someone, everything in between. These are things that we want to do, but if we haven't got them in a system, they're going to be taking up mental space and affecting our performance on the task that we have to hand. So as a general principle, get these things out of our head into some form of a system. And it's not like there's a perfect system out there, but Todoist is one of the apps that I've found to be most flexible, easiest to get our heads around from scratch, and it's scalable on a couple of fronts. It can be shared with colleagues, so you can have shared projects in it and work collaboratively, but also there's a very low barrier to entry. It's free, and you can have a paid version of it, which works out at, I think, about £30 a year if you want some additional bells and whistles. So I have a paid version of the app, and I'll show you what that can do. But what I'm trying to illustrate as we go through is the benefit of both getting stuff out of our head and then organizing it in a way that can appear on screen, regardless of the screen we're using. So another benefit of this tool is that it's multi-platform. You can access it through a browser, which is what I'll be doing this afternoon. You can get it on all the smartphone platforms. You can get it on smartwatches. You can get it on Mac, PC, everything in between. And that accessibility, that constant presence makes it a really useful tool, because getting an idea from your head into the tool, there's minimal friction. So what I'm going to do is share my screen and pull up Todoist from the very beginning. Let's make sure I'm sharing the right one. Okay, so what we're seeing on screen is Todoist by the browser. Now, when you have the desktop app, it looks pretty much the same, actually. And I'm going to show you the main elements of this, and then we're going to start adding things to it and then using the functionality to make sense of it. As I get stuck in, though, please, at any point, unmute yourself and ask a question. Just ask me to pause or go over something again, or even ask me why I'm doing something in a certain way. So what we've got here to begin with is the inbox. So on the left-hand side here, we can see a menu, inbox, today, upcoming, projects, labels, and filters. I'm going to go through these in turn. But the first thing that's really, really useful is that this has an inbox where all of our tasks can be put. And as a general principle, when we're trying to be productive, when we're trying to be organized, it's useful to have an inbox that is not our email inbox. Many of us get caught in the trap of living in our email. So when we want to decide what to do next, we look in our email inbox. The major downfall with that is more emails coming in all the time, and we get distracted by the new emails. So if we can translate our emails into tasks, knowing that's not the only place our work comes from, but they get translated into tasks and they're in this inbox. And it's the metaphor of having a physical inbox in front of us. Everything we need to do is in that inbox. And that gives us great peace of mind to know that everything that we're supposed to do is somewhere in this one system. So as you can see here, I'm getting the message, it's all clear. I have to be honest, it's been a while since I've seen this on screen. The inbox has normally got a lot of stuff going in and out of it, but we have the opportunity here to add a task there. Now, The today view is just another view of the tasks, but it only shows the ones where we've said, I want to do this today. So this is a great way of just narrowing down all the things that could be done down to the ones that you've decided you want to do today. So anything that has a due date of today, you can see Wednesday, December the 15th will appear in this view. Obviously, I've got no tasks in here at all yet. And then the upcoming view is a super useful view where it just shows you by date. You can scroll through the upcoming dates. What have I got on my agenda? Really, really useful. So you can go straight to a date in the future just to check is something in there, or just get a feel for how busy your days are going to look like over the coming days and weeks. So these are the three main views that we have that are built in. Now we can create additional views, which is something I'll come to a little bit later. So let's go back to this inbox. Adding a task is really, really simple. So you can either click on add task there. You can always go up to the plus button there. And as it shows us with a little pop-up, you can just use the button Q on your keyboard to quickly add a task. So if I click it here, you'll see we're asked to give the task a name. Now there's lots more to this. We could simply put in buy some milk. However, it's useful for us when we look at this task, maybe days, maybe weeks in the future, to have a bit more detail around it. So we can add a description to this task. So you could put in something like, because I've run out, I need some milk. Obviously, I'm never going to put in something like this in the real world. I have a whole bunch of tasks we're going to put in to do some work with. But in this same box, we can then schedule it and say, well, actually, I would like to do it today, tomorrow, sometime this weekend, or I can go ahead to a date in the future if I know that this thing is very time dependent. But I'm going to say, I want to do this today. Now, this here is to illustrate which project this is in. And as you'll see on the side here, I've got no projects. I've just got a task. So we can select here, say, just leave it in my inbox or add it to a project. And we'll set up some projects in a moment to illustrate how that can be really helpful in bringing some clarity. I'm going to leave it in the inbox for the moment. The other things we have are down here on the bottom right. We can add a label. Now, from a getting clarity on your work perspective, labels or tags, as they're sometimes called, are incredibly useful. Labels bring clarity to the workload because we can create them based on what we do and what our life looks like. So a label tells you, for example, where do I need to be to do this? Or what tool do I need in order to do this? Or maybe who do I need in order to get this done? So we'll add a label to this and you can have as many as you want. But let's say I need to buy some milk in my local shop, which is Tesco. So I'm going to create a label called Tesco. Now, this doesn't add a huge amount of value right now, but when we've got dozens and dozens of tasks in the system, we can then simply go to the label marked Tesco and see what is it I wanted to buy in Tesco. And we've created a shopping list of sorts. We can also really importantly set a priority for this task. And this is really nice. This is one of the reasons I like Todoist because it has 4 categories and they map on really nicely to our traditional Eisenhower matrix, our 4-box model of prioritization that asks us to say whether something is urgent and important, urgent, not important, important but not urgent, or neither. We've got 4 to choose from. So let's say, because I've run out of milk and I really want some milk for my coffee tomorrow, this is urgent and important. So I'm going to give it priority 1. And then this is a reminder. So I can add a reminder to this and say, and this is another great advantage of this tool, we can use natural language. So instead of having to choose from lots of buttons, I can simply say, oops, I can't, today at 7 p.m. Now, today at 7 p.m., my app will pop up a reminder on screen, on my phone, on my iPad, on my watch to say, you said you wanted to buy some milk. So I've added everything I wanted with this task, click add, and we can see now it's in my inbox. Now it's in today because I said I wanted to do it today. And if we go to labels, now it's in the label marked Tesco. So how do we think about this? What's a useful way to think about the whole thing? Effectively, we're working with a database, but it's got a lovely front end. And what this allows us to do is say, show me bits of this database. Show me the bits I'm interested in. Show me what's a high priority. Show me what I want to do today. Show me something associated with Tesco. Now, obviously, we could have things like labels like email, office, things I can only do at home, things I can only do with my manager, things that I can do, maybe a state of being. That's another one that's useful to explore. Tasks I can do when I'm tired that need very little energy. Tasks that I can do when I'm very enthusiastic or full of energy. One that I used to use a lot before the pandemic was when I'm on the move. I used to travel an awful lot for business. And so I would have tasks labeled, do these on the move. So I could do them on a plane or a train. I wouldn't need to be online, for example. So that's what Todoist is allowing us to do. Take something that we might have put on a big long list on a piece of paper or a whole series of post-it notes. One, put them in one place, but two, give us the tools so we can make sense of what we've put into this system and only see what we want to see at a given point in time, so we can minimize that sense of overwhelm. So what I'm going to do now is take a whole bunch of tasks, and this is another little trick that's really useful. Let's imagine you were away from your Todoist app for whatever reason, but you had lots of ideas of things you wanted to do, and you have recorded them electronically. So you'd maybe written them in a note, or you'd maybe written them in a document. What you can do with Todoist is select all of those in whatever app you're using, copy them, and then we're going to go to the inbox. I've just copied a whole bunch of things from an existing note. And when I click add task and I paste, it says, well, there's 26 lines of text here. Do you want to add 26 tasks? And so what that will give me is 26 separate tasks. Now I've got a fairly busy inbox. These are random, but what I can do now is say, actually, let me make some sense of this. And this is a really useful thing to do on a daily, maybe sometimes twice a day basis. So what we can do is say, let's make some sense of this by organizing this, maybe using labels, maybe using projects, maybe using both. If we take a step back though, how do we make sense of the things that we need to do in life? We could just say tasks that need to be done today, but we're kind of operating at a task level then. We're focusing on, yes, things that are important to do. Why are we doing them though? And what aspects of our life are we paying attention to? So it's really useful to take a step way back from the task focus and look at a higher level, maybe the areas of our life like buckets that these tasks can fit into. So what we can do is go over to the projects area and set up a couple of projects. Now, I'm going to do a basic version of this, and you can do as many of these as you like. And because you're allowed to have nested projects within projects, you can create a structure or a hierarchy for how you want to organize your things that meets your needs, that matches what you do in your life. So I'm going to set up a project here. I just clicked the plus button there, it brings up the dialog box, and I just have to give this a name. So I'm going to call this personal. Now, a tip from me, this may or may not work for you. Something that I do is color code my electronic life. It keeps things simple. And what that doesn't mean is a plethora of rainbows every time I open my apps, but I use the same colors to indicate the same things. So appointments in my calendar, if they're to do with work, they will always be blue. If they're personal, they will always be green. When I set up projects here, I will always color code anything to do with my personal life green and anything to do with my professional life blue. And you can do that because I've given this a name. Go to the color, and then we can go down and we can replicate what I do, call it green. Now here, we have the option to add it to favorites. And what that means is, as we add projects and we get loads of projects, our favorites will be a short number of those that are always appearing at the top. So they might be things that you always want to have to hand. Maybe it's a shopping project. Maybe it's the big client projects you're working on right now, but you can move them in and out of favorites so you don't have to go digging for those projects. Then we have something that's really useful. Again, it's a relatively new addition to Todoist. We can see this project as a traditional list. a list of tasks, just like the inbox. Or we can set it up as a board, like a Kanban board. So we can organize the tasks based on their status, something like to do, doing, and done. And that's visual, and we can drag these cards across. And a lot of people like working in that way, and it suits some contexts, maybe like the production of materials or something where there's an established process. I'm going to add this as a simple list. And then we'll see on the project side, I've got a personal project, nothing in it. I'm then going to add another one, and I'm going to call this business. And I'm going to color it blue, and I'm going to leave it as a list. So now we've got two projects. But actually what I've done here is create two areas of focus, or two aspects of my life, okay? I can then create more to bring a little bit more granular detail to it. The more of these we put in, the more we're able to look at these projects just by themselves and get some focus on them. So all the time we're moving away from a massive, unmanageable list of tasks down to little snapshots that represent how our life looks. So if, for example, there's an aspect of my life that I want to pay a lot of attention to, and let's say it's my personal development, I'm going to add a project here called personal development. And then I'm going to arbitrarily say this is part of my personal life. So I'm going to add it here. Now, what I can do is drag this and make it part of personal. So this now can be expanded and contracted to show the projects that are in that aspect of my life. Likewise, within business, I could add projects there. So when I've highlighted business, you can see these 6 buttons allow me to move this around. And then these 3 buttons give me a menu where I can add a project, edit it, add it to my favorites, and so on. So I'm going to add a project below. I'm going to call this client ABC. And then I'm going to nudge it in so it's underneath there. And then I'm going to add one below here because this refers to some of the example things I've put in. And this is client DEF. Right, so now I've brought a little bit of clarity to my life in that I have a personal side of things, I have a business side of things, and I've got a few projects in there. And all these are ways of organizing the tasks. You can have tasks, you can have projects within projects within projects, and you can go down to a level that works for you. There is a sort of a sensible point at which we don't need, or it could be confusing to add more projects within projects within projects, because we'll find ourselves going up and down trying to find things. There is another way that we can divide things up, and that is sections within a project. So let me use the personal development project as an example. What I might be tempted to do would put another project within that. That's things I want to read, articles, I want to read, and then another project, courses I want to attend, and then another one about habits I want to cultivate this year. Or I can add sections within the personal development project to just divide it up and make a little sense of it. So you can see here by moving the cursor down under add task, you can add a section. So I'm going to call this books I want to read. And then I'll add another section, courses I want to attend. And then another section, I want to cultivate. Some arbitrary things there. Now, these don't appear on the side because they're all part of personal development. But what they allow us to do is organize our tasks in sort of sensible sections that give us clarity within that project. And a project doesn't have to mean a project from this task all the way through to this task in order. It's just a gathering of tasks that have a sort of a theme. So not a formal project per se, but just a way of gathering them together and then dividing that up into subgroups, if you like, or sections as they call them in Todoist. I find these incredibly useful because they bring a sense of clarity and a bit of organization. So that's bringing in sections to a project, that's adding projects within a project, and that's illustrating how we can have areas of focus in our life. And so we've got a hierarchy. The aspects of my life that exist or are important to me, the projects within those aspects of my life, and then the tasks within those projects. What that allows us to do, of course, is scan this horizon of what's going on here, what have I got on my plate, and get a very clear sense of which aspects of my life are busy, or maybe which aren't even present here. And I want to add to this to make sure I'm paying attention to all of those things that are important to me. So I might want to add something here, like health and well-being. Now, this isn't a project in the true sense of the word, because I'm never going to tick a box and say, that's the end of my health and well-being. Likewise, if I put one in here, that's family. It's an area of focus. It's an ongoing part of my life I want to pay attention to, not a strict project that will have a completion date. So in one sense, you can use these areas of focus to represent things that are important to you, like your values, or simply an aspect of your life that you absolutely want to pay attention to and remember to have a look at. Just from a managing our lives perspective, it can often be the case that we are very diligent about this blue side of our lives, this business or professional side. Work is given to us. The tasks arrive in our inbox. We've got projects to do, and there's no shortage of things to fit in here. When working with my coaches, nearly always recommend be as diligent, be as detailed, and as focused on the personal side of your life to make sure you allocate the time and the energy and the attention to do these things as well, so they don't fall off the edge of the table just because they weren't visually in front of you. And that also applies to things like our calendars. They get full of work things very quickly and very easily. We also need to use those electronic calendars to put in space for those other things that are important to us, our growth, our well-being, our social lives, and so on and so on. So that's another tip I would bring to the table here, not only just color coding this, but matching the color coding with your calendar and ensuring that any aspects of life, maybe the high level ones, personal, business, there could be others there, they are also represented and they speak to each other in that they match each other. The same names are used, the same colors are used. And if you add a new one, you can add it to both your electronic calendar and your Todoist so that you are paying attention to the things that are important to you on an ongoing basis. I'll pause again there to see if there's any questions about anything I've covered so far. No, okay. So let's go back to the inbox and try and make sense of some of these things. So what we can do is either go back into tasks and add more detail to them, or we can drag them to a place rather than typing in the project or the area of our life that we want to have them sit. So this first one here, download and install Todoist on my smartphone. You've left this session. You're inspired to do something with this. So what you can do is, and our idea here is that we are emptying our inbox regularly. This is just a holding pen for things before we decide what we're going to do with them. But we might say, this is something I want to get better at. So I'm just going to drag this and pop it in my personal development project. Now it's over there. Now it isn't in one of these sections. Doesn't need to be, doesn't have a neat fit for any of those. Go back up here. Now let's open up one of these. So I've got schedule my review, and this is about doing a weekly review of the things that are on my plate. Now this is marked today, but also every week. What does that mean? Well, there's a repeat in here. So if we remove this by clicking no date and we start from scratch with this, I want to do this every week. This is really, really good to get familiar with, to save you some time. Imagine I've just typed in schedule my review. I can then write every Friday. Click save. Now that is going to appear every Friday when I tick it off the previous Friday. So I don't have to go and find the date or do it multiple times. I can just type in every Friday. I can type in every third Tuesday, once a month on the whatever date. This natural language works really, really well. I can also, while I'm still in here, add this to a project without dragging it. So let's say this is part of my personal development as well. You use hashtag And that brings up the menu. So you can either use your keyboard to go up and down, or you can start to type what it is. And then I've got personal development. So that's going to be put in there. Now I can add the priority, and I can, as I showed earlier, just go down here. But if you want to keep your hands on the keyboard and keep it moving quickly, all you do is type P for priority and then the number 1, 2, 3, or 4. So we'll say this is something that's not urgent, but it is important. It's P2. Then we put a tag in. This we can do by putting in the @ symbol. Now, the only, label, I sometimes use that word interchangeably. The label, the only label we've got in here so far is Tesco. That's irrelevant to this. But what I might want to do is put in one marked computer. I want to do this when I'm in front of my computer. So we'll create that. When I click save, we've now got something, a review every Friday. It's at my computer. It's priority 2. When I click out of this, we'll see it's not in my inbox. It's in that window. I've put all the information that I wanted in that window, and now it's in my personal development. So here's in the today view, a bunch of tasks that have been pre-populated with being a today task when I added them in. When we realize that we want to change some of this, so prepare for my planning meeting, I'm not going to do that today. I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed when I look at the things that have been assigned to today. So what I can do is say, I'm going to do that on Friday. So I click on the date box and I pick another date. What Todoist gives me, though, which is really quite good, is this shortlist. Actually, just nudge it into tomorrow, nudge it later this week, nudge it to the weekend or next week, or postpone it. This is like a shortcut menu that enables us to do that. And what you often find is like, actually, I just want to go down one and say, I'll do this tomorrow instead. So we've got an inbox full of things that we want to do. We've got our today view of the things that we say we're going to do today, and that can change. So only one of these is urgent and important. So what we might say is, these are things that I definitely want to get done today, and I want to make all of these priority 1, urgent and important. So if you hold down the Shift key and you click on a task, it highlights it, and you keep the Shift down, and you can press the next one and the next one and the next one. So these are multi-selected tasks. And then if you go up to the top here, you see there's a menu has appeared up here. And what we're able to do here by selecting a whole bunch of tasks is change something about them all at the same time. It's a big time saver. So let's say I want to make all of these priority 1. Suddenly now we can see they're all red. Really, really useful way of just quickly saying, I want to treat all of these the same. I want to treat all of these in this way. Let's do the same thing again. I'll hold Shift and I'll click this one and I'll click this one. Oops, sorry, wrong button. I'm surprised that hadn't happened yet. Click this one and say, actually, let's change the schedule. Let's do it tomorrow instead. Okay. So the idea here is that our inbox is where everything goes in. We process that, we decide where things are going to go, and they'll remain in the inbox regardless of the time if we don't assign them to a project. So it can be a really good idea to say, actually, let me try and move these into at least an area of my life to keep my inbox as neat, as tidy, as empty as we possibly can. So you might say, in my personal life, I've got a shopping project, or you just say, you know what, buying milk is a personal thing. Making a checklist for my review is personal development. Checking out this video about the review process, that's personal development as well. Subscribing to the YouTube channel, I assume you have, is part of my personal development. So you can go through it really quite quickly once you've put these things in. Now, the idea here would be that when you put tasks in, they might be something fresh off your mind. You get inspired. And what goes in there is not the whole thing. So let me show you an example here. I put a task in here, request my new prescription. Lots of different ways that might be done and when that might be done. But let's say I know that needs to be done tomorrow. Tomorrow's the deadline for getting that before Christmas, before everything starts to get too busy and closes down. So immediately I'm going to say that's P1. That's priority 1. And I'm going to say tomorrow. Even if you just type the first 3 letters of a day. This will fill in the remainder for you. Now, I can put this into a project. I will click the hashtag and then put this into H for health and well-being. There we go. So that's in there. Now, this is a really useful part of this. The description earlier, because I ran out of milk, that's just an example. But I might say you need to ask the pharmacist for 3 months worth this time. Now, this means that when this pops up on my screen, it's not just requesting the prescription, but asking for something a little bit more specific that in the middle of a busy day, I may not remember to do. So I can add lots and lots of information in here. Now, while we're still in here, let's have a look down here. We haven't explored this yet. So this is another useful part of just one task. We can add subtasks to this. So we can add in, maybe while I'm requesting my new prescription, I can ask pharmacists about a subscription deal. Maybe I can get my drugs cheaper if I sign up. I don't know. But if I add that task, that's now a subtask of this. So when we save this, you'll see that's the task, request my new prescription. I need 3 months, and underneath I've got a subtask. And this can be a nice way. If we don't want to have sections and we don't want to have loads and loads and loads of projects, we can say, the thing I want to do is the main task. But in order to do that, I need to do multiple subtasks to get there. And it's a really nice way of, one, dealing with procrastination. We can slice up that task into its smallest constituent parts. Or also, if we know we're not going to be able to get it all done in one go, we can do a bit one day and then follow up the next day and so on. And it's a nice way of keeping on top, not using our memory, but being able to look at how am I doing when it comes to this task? How far along have I progressed given where I wanted to get to? So subtasks are really, really handy. And we can also add a subtask to a subtask. So up here, we've seen this is the project, this is the task, and now I'm in a subtask. If I click on this again, I'm back up to request my new prescription. But as soon as I click on this, I can say, oh, there's another subtask there. I can also add priority to this. And I can say, do this on Friday. So really, you could, if you wished, keep a very simple project structure and use tasks and subtasks to make sense of the things that you want to put in. I'll flag something that's really important from a philosophical point of view, and this is one of the ways Todoist makes it really useful. It's so important to distinguish between tasks and projects. David Allen's book, Getting Things Done, is treated almost like some kind of holy book in productivity circles. It's not flawless, but there's some great ideas in there. One of his ideas, I think that's fantastic, is this distinction between tasks and projects. And basically, tasks are anything that you can do in one go. You can do it. It's like writing an email, making a phone call, buying milk. These are tasks. Projects are things that are going to be made up of 2, 3, or more tasks. So booking your summer holidays is a project. It's not a task. And the thing that trips us up all the time is when we have a list of tasks and we look at them, they're not actually tasks, they're projects. And when we look at a list of projects, it feels overwhelming because where do I start? So one of the things we can do with the inbox is look at these and say, actually, some of these things might actually be projects and not tasks. I've captured them. I've gathered them into the inbox. What I might do is break them down further into some constituent parts to take that weight off and say, what's the first step I could take in order to get there? So that's why the project structure is really helpful, but the subtasks within tasks means that we can treat them as they are, tasks and not projects, and not conflate the two. So if you are looking at your to-do list after this session and you wonder why some of those things keep getting punted into tomorrow or next week, ask yourself, could I do this in one go? Or is this something I could slice up into smaller actions and make them into tasks and make it collectively a project? So let's look at an example here. Second from the bottom, create a new client onboarding checklist. So let's make some sense of this. This is a business project, so hashtag business. So this is going to go into that area of my life. And then put in, I'm being asked to create a new checklist to welcome our new clients. So that's the why. Ultimately, I want to get this done by 7th of January, and it is priority 2, and I'm going to set a reminder for Jan 7th. Now, the default is to set one for 9 a.m. You could put in a time as well when you're putting in your reminders, but on January 7th at 9 a.m, Todoist will tell me you said you wanted to do this by now. But what I can do is remind myself that actually that's not a task. Really, it's not a task, because what I need to do is brainstorm possible onboarding activities. That's a task. Get feedback on possible activities from team. That's another task. Draft checklist for final review. That's a separate task. Maybe get feedback from some existing clients. That's another task. So what we've done is take something that was a good idea that made it into the inbox, but actually we've made it something much more specific and much more doable. And I can give each of these subtasks a date if I wish. I can give them a priority if I wish, or I can just keep coming back to this and reminding myself that there's multiple steps along the way in order to reach this, create a new client onboarding checklist. An alternative would be to set up a project on the side, new client onboarding checklist, and have these as the actions within it. It's whatever works for you. It's whatever keeps it nice and simple. And that's an overriding principle here. Keep this system as simple and as usable as possible, because that means you will use it. One of the downsides to putting your tasks into a system is that unless it's a system that you find it's a pleasure to use, it's easy to use, and there's no friction when using it, you're not going to use it. And you'll fall back into the habit of using your memory or scraps of paper that get lost. So far, so straightforward, I hope. It's just about organizing tasks. But if you've got a whole ramp of stuff going on at the same time, it can feel overwhelming. And that's one of the things we want to avoid, that we don't even want to open Todoist because we're scared of what's in there. It's a familiar feeling for many of us with our email. I don't want to open my inbox because I can't imagine what's in there. So we just need to keep pruning this, farming it, clipping away to keep it nice and manageable. So two things that we can do here are to use labels and filters. Labels and filters are built into this, and they're a really nice way, like I said earlier, of interrogating this database, only showing us what it is that we really want to see in that moment. So like I said, we've got a Tesco label, and that shows us only what's been labeled Tesco. And then we've got computer, and that shows us only what we've applied the computer label to. So creating labels that refer to your life and your job and your priorities mean these are things I'll only be able to do at home. These are things I can only do in the office. These are things I can only do with my manager. And that's how the labels are really, really useful. And you can have as many as you like. It's useful periodically to review them and see, once they get beyond 20 or 25 labels, am I regularly using these? Maybe can I keep it simpler than this? But they bring clarity to a very busy Todoist. The other thing is filters. So filters can be very, very creative. And what I'm going to do is share a video after this that really does a great explanation. It's a YouTube video on how to use filters, how to create your own filters. This includes this. Now, I didn't create these filters, they're built in, but what they will do is say, show me anything that meets these criteria. So let me show you priority 1. If you click on that, this shows you the tasks from wherever in the system, any project, any time that have been marked priority 1. And what this is, if we edit the filter, it's just querying for anything marked priority 1. Now you can give it a name of anything you like my priorities, but the query needs to match the language of Todoist. And that's what that video is really good for showing you, because you can combine. So you might say priority 1 and business. So that would only show you anything to do with business, that was also a priority one. And like the other, like projects, you can add it to your favorites. So there might be a query that you just find really, really useful, like show me business that's in the office, that's priority one. And these are the things I really want to make sure I get done each day. And it will appear in your favorites list. So what I'll do, we can change the color of that. We'll make it red because it's priority one, and I'll add it to the favorites. And now this filter appears under favorites. We didn't have any before now. I'll collapse these menus just to keep it nice and clear for us. So what we're looking at is, this is a filter that's been favorited that will always appear at the top of the list. If personal development, if we go into edit the project, if we add this to the favorites, click save, now that's going to appear up there as well. So this is like your short list of things you just want to have at the top there that you can always dip in and dip out of. And if we click on the three dots, we can edit that project or just simply remove it from the favorites. The filters and what you can do with the filters really bring this to the next level. They move it beyond a simple list of things that need to be done to show me things in a way that makes sense to me, based on combining labels, priorities, projects, and dates all in one inquiry. So just showing you priority one shows you everything in any project at any time. If we go down here and edit this, let's add in today. Oh, no, sorry, I put it in the wrong place. That's the name. The query is what we're asking it to do. And today, now it's only showing us things that are marked priority one and today. So we've edited that filter to not just show us priority one, because we might have dozens of things, but instead we're saying, show me anything marked priority one and marked today. And so I might just change the filter name to priority one today to remind me these are today's priorities. Again, we're working to get clarity. We're working to make it easy to see what we want to do. We're working to avoid the overwhelm. I'm going to just take a whole bunch of these and put them all into today to make it look a little bit more. Actually, I have to schedule these today. And we'll go into the today view. There's quite a lot going on there. Quite a few things. So I might want to just get a little bit more clarity over this. So what I'm going to do is take a few of these tasks, again, holding down Shift and select, and I'm going to, there is no rhyme nor reason to this. I'm just going to make some of these priority two, and then I'm going to select some of these and make them priority three. So we've got a color coding now, and that gives you a sense of, okay, well, obviously I need to do these. These must get done, and maybe down here, they're nice to have. But we can also do something else in the today view. This button up here, view, if we click on that, we can change what is the view, the default view in today. What the default is just the list that we've put in. But we can change that, and we can group things by priority. Now we get to see the priority ones, followed by the twos, followed by the threes and the fours. That gives us a nice bit of clarity. We can remove the custom sorting there and go back to how it was. And then we could say, sort it by project. Now we can see that all the inbox ones come before the personal one. Not a lot of clarity there because all of these were in the inbox there to begin with. Or we could say group them by label. Maybe are there any labels in there? Yeah, so there's one thing there that I've labeled Tesco and all the others don't have a label. So the default view can be really, these were ordered in this way to begin with. But if we group them by priority, you're then able to look at a very busy today and say, you know what I'm going to pay attention to it is these ones up here before I look at any of these others down here. And that's where the color coding of the prioritization is quite nice, but adding that custom sorting to your today view is really nice. We can also do this in the inbox. So I can view this as a list, or I can view it as a board. I'll show you a board. So this is, if you're familiar with the Kanban methodology, it's about moving the contents of a project or a list of tasks from one side of the board to the other. And what that means is you've got a visual representation of your workflow. So we would do this by adding sections. So we've turned this from a list to a horizontal organization. So I'm going to call this to do. I'm going to add another one called doing and another one called done. This is kind of an artificial Kanban. It's not something like Trello or apps like that that are literal Kanban boards. But what this enables us to do is say, well, actually, out of all of these, I'm going to drag these over here, just like cards on a cork board. And these are things I know I want to do, for example. And then we come back and we say, actually, this is something I've started doing this. And once I've done it, I'll put that in there. And we have a nice visual representation of where is all the work sitting. It keeps the date that something is due. It keeps the color coding of the prioritization, and it organizes it into these sections of to do, doing, done. Now, you could label these any way you want, because the board isn't about literally doing and done. It could be something that's your workflow, something to do with your project. But it's really nice that if you're used to working in this way, if you're moving from an app like Trello or even just a cork board on the wall and moving bits of paper across, you can replicate that here. Now we can click view and then bring it back to a list. And we'll see that our list now has sections. All of these aren't in a section. And then we've got our to do, doing, and done. In a sense, if you had very few things to do, you could just work out of your inbox all the time. Most of us have far more things that could just be accommodated by an inbox like this. And so that's why it's really useful to set up projects and set up labels and filters just to get specific about that. And now that we've got a few things in, we can see our upcoming view. We can see today, we've got quite a few things. If I scroll down, we get to see tomorrow and then Friday. If I scroll all the way through, there we've got that thing we assigned for January the 7th. So another interrogation of the database that's just based on date, but it's nice. So you don't have to click through a calendar to get there. You can just see what you've decided to do. Now, for any task, anywhere, you can move it, change its priority, or indeed delete it as you need to. So today it might be a bit busy for me. So I'd say, well, look, if I'm going to call Lorraine, actually, I'll do that tomorrow instead. So I can just hover over this, get to the schedule, click that, click tomorrow, and it's out of my today view. I might say, actually, I watched this documentary about houses going on fire. So actually, I really do think this is important. Click the three buttons there, go up, click priority 1, and checking the battery for my smoke alarm goes right up to the priority 1. Because prioritization based on the Eisenhower matrix is not fixed, it's dynamic. Things that are important and not urgent can quickly become important and urgent with the passing of time. So it's really good that we can move tasks between priorities as we need to, as our day or our week progresses, just so we've got something that's realistic. And of course, something that is not urgent today could be urgent later, and vice versa. You know, we could get an update and say, actually, someone else bought the milk. I'm going to put this right down there. In fact, I'm going to buy milk at the weekend, and then I know I'll have some for next week. So this is how I organize my today view. I could organize it by my projects, but the thing I really want to understand is the priority of things. So that's why I have this custom sorting whenever I use it. And of course, you can have that on your phone, on your tablets, on your app. It's all built into all of them. So as you move between apps, as you move between platforms, Todoist looks and feels just as you would expect it to. There's no surprises there, and the functionality matches pretty much right across the board. Well, listen, thank you everyone for joining me. This is the first demo I've done of this with the community, so I hope it wasn't too rough and ready, but I've done enough one-to-ones with people on this, kind of know what I wanted to cover. If in the coming days you've got questions about how to implement any of this stuff, drop them into the forum, because it's great if other people can see the questions and I'll answer them publicly. But anyway, I hope you found it useful. And if you've got ideas for future meetups for the month ahead, please drop them in. I really just want to organize them around what members of the community want.